you could right click here and select check constraints. Okay, and then now we are going to add a new one. Okay, so basically constraint is what is going to limit the type of information that can go in the field. Okay, so we're going to click add. Okay, you could call it a different name, which in fact is recommended. So let me call this this is going to be a teachers table. So typically you want to name, put in the name of the table, and then the field, which is going to be department underscore ID. Okay, so that's the name of the constraint. You could add a description if you wanted to. And the expression is where you're going to say something like department ID needs to be less than 9. Okay, so the way you read that is make sure that the department ID is less than 9. We hit OK. We gave it a name, we gave it an expression. I'm going to go ahead and click close. Okay, so we just created that constraint. Okay, and at this point I believe our table is ready to go. I think it looks pretty good. You could click save here, or you can, when you close this, it'll ask you, but let's go ahead and click save. I'm going to call this teachers. Okay, and let me close this one. Now if I refresh this, see that we do have a teachers table right there. Now you could modify this table if you wanted to. You simply right click, select design, and it kind of brings you back into the same sort of window. You can change things in here. In fact, one of the things I want to change is the zip code. I noticed that I'm using varchar 5, which I'm going to change this to let's make it 10, because sometimes zip codes can be a little bit longer than 5. So everything else looks good. When you close it, it'll ask you, do you want to go ahead and save it? I will say yes. Okay, now again, if I go back to design, and if I go to zip code, you'll notice that it's varchar 10. So that looks good. Now how do you enter data into this? You could right click on a table and select edit. Okay, and there's other things you can do that in here too, but let's just do edit. And let us go ahead and minimize this part so we can see our fields. And at this point, you know, let's go ahead and start typing in. Now the information, I will try to keep them lowercase unless it's a first name, but the ID needs to be unique, so let's call it teach01. I can go as a teacher. Okay, and as you'll notice, as I'm entering information, you're getting these exclamation marks. What that means is that this one is not committed yet. Social Security, let me just make something up here. 987.6. In fact, what I need to do is I think I need to take the dashes out. So let me add this information, and then I will be right back. So I'm back. You'll notice that I'm going to go ahead and actually leave some of these other fields towards the end empty. Other than that, I entered fairly everything. A couple things I'll actually mention. I have a department of 7 in here, and here notice that I did not enter anything. Now when we commit this, we should be able to get a 1 in here. Okay, and you'll notice on the left side we have a pencil, which means we're editing. Now in order to commit, you can actually click on this one, or you can click the next record, and that should also commit it. Okay, just to make sure, we'll just execute this, and that's it. Now you'll notice that my record is committed, and here you go. This is what I was trying to mention, that it already added the active flag of value 1. Okay, so now if I can close it, if I go back to Explorer, besides opening that, editing, you can also do a select top 1000. Okay, and right now there's only one record in here. Okay, so that's another way to look at the data. Yet another way you can do this is right click, script table as, and then go select to. Okay, you can even save it to a file, clipboard, but let's just go to new query. Pretty much gives you the select statement. You can run it and execute it, and it's done. So let's close this one, close this one. I'm going to show you one more thing, and then we'll switch to the TSQL. One thing I want to try is I'm going to put a department ID of 10, okay, and see if I can get a nice little error from SQL Server. So 10 is definitely higher than 9. When I try to go to another cell, notice what it says. It says the data was not committed, constraint CK, teachers department ID. You guys remember that one? It caused a conflict, and then now it says you need to correct the error, so hit OK. Now if you keep going, it's going to keep giving you error until you put in a different code. So let's try 6, and now it looks like it's happy. Okay, now one thing you'll notice though, there's really no save button like in Access or something like that, or some of the other tools. As you're working with SQL Server, it is going to go ahead and commit these changes. Okay, so be careful with that. Again, right click, select the data, and now the information is there. Alright, so we're winding down. One of the last things I need to talk about is using this SQL statement. So let me go here and open up the file, and we'll take a look at it to see what's in there. Insert dash student file. Oh, looks like I apologize, I got the wrong script. This is actually the insert. We need to first have a table before we can do the insert. So I'm going to open up the students dash basic SQL script, and then let me walk you through this. Okay, so the first thing, like I mentioned, we need to use the use command. All it does is switches the database. Right now you'll notice it's master, which I think I probably started with college, but I've been switching, so I do apologize. Use school is the database. Okay, and then as far as our syntax, the create table syntax is not terribly complicated. You basically start with the command create table, give it a name. Okay, then you are going to pick a field name, give it a data type, and then use null, not null. I believe if you leave this last one, it creates it as a not null, and then you do a comma, go to the next field, and on and on and on, right? And then make sure you have the parentheses like I've showed you. Again, your data type could be really an integer, varchar, bit, etc. So I have this command in front of you. We are creating a table called students. Okay, let me walk you through these fields. This is going to be very much similar to the teachers table. We have a student ID. Now in this case, actually it's interesting, we are creating an integer, and I'm also using what's known as identity. This is a auto number key that will start at 1 and increment by 1. So if I were to write that here, by the way, in SQL you can do comments with 2 dashes. This will include things like 1, 2, 3, 4. It will go like that. Okay, I think I screwed up some code here. Okay, so that's the student ID. Last name varchar 30, first name varchar 20. Let's make that also 30. Okay, and then as far as the next field is the gender code. Okay, which our case we're just using varchar 1. Birth date is date time. Okay, similar to the teachers table. Then we have the social security number, which is varchar 9. Okay, race code, active flag. You'll notice that if you need something to be required, you make it a not null. Okay, address